ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Tisha Hammond.
In the back seat of my mother's car, my older sister Charisma and I are waging war over who's going to hug Daddy first when we see him again. It's Christmas break 1986. I'm 10 years old, and Mommy is driving us 4 hours from Fresno, California to Los Angeles. Mommy and Daddy separated years earlier, and it's Daddy's turn to get Charisma and I for the holiday. I'm going to hug Daddy first. No, I'm going to hug Daddy first. Leave me alone, Charisma. My mom turned her head from the road long enough to scold us. Both of you, stop it. My God, we're here, she said as we pulled up to the front of my dad's apartment building. The sun was getting low, and Daddy excitedly met us at the curb with arms wide open. I hugged Daddy first. And the holiday spirit must have touched him because he hugged Mommy and said, Tiny, it's getting late. You could stay the night here. And Mommy, with way too much giddiness, said, all right, Robert, I will. But never mind them. It's Christmas time, and Charisma and I scanned Daddy's one-room apartment for a tree. Ornaments, stockings, gifts? There were none. Daddy, did you hide our gifts? I bravely asked. Go to bed, T-Bird, he said sternly. And I tried to sleep that night. I wanted to hear jingle bells and reindeer hooves on nearby rooftops. But instead, I heard something disturbing. Mommy and Daddy kissing in the dark. Yuck. So not only was I grossed out, I was scared because I knew David was back home waiting for Mommy. David loved to put his hands on Mommy. He left bruises that she would cover with makeup and a smile. David and Mommy met when I was 2 years old. For a while, he was like Prince Charming, and he treated Mommy and Charisma and I like royalty. But when I was 4, something dangerous took hold of David. And living with him in Fresno became a nightmare. So, I was scared for Mommy to go back home to David without Charisma and I to fend him off because she was no match for him on her own. The next morning, Mommy heads back home, and I tearfully hug her. Mommy, please don't go. Stay here with us. But we all knew it would have been worse for her to stay. Charisma and I enjoyed Christmas with Daddy. And by the time we got home to Fresno in the new year, to David, it seemed very quickly that Mommy had found some sweet relief in a new man named Alto. Mommy escaped David long enough to move us girls with Alto to Altadena, California for a quick minute, and then on to Cleveland, where he was from. Alto was nice to Mommy. They didn't argue and fight like she did with David. Alto introduced me to Pop and Penny Candy. And for 10 months, life was good. And then, bam, as if someone gave out our GPS, David shows up in a yellow checkered cab to carry Mommy and Charisma and I back to hell with him in Fresno. We lived with David's elderly parents in Fresno for several months. I remember that I had started puberty, and this seemed to attract David's father, Grandpa Butch. He liked to hold me closely on his lap with the front zipper kept down on his old denim coveralls. And for hours, night after night, I would count down from 100 to 0 over and over, until Mommy's car lights showed up through the window. And then Grandpa Butch would take his grimy fingers out of me and slither to his room to be with Grandma Bessie, as if nothing had happened. And I'd beg Mommy, please don't make us go back there. Grandpa Butch touches us. And sometimes he takes Charisma to his room when Grandma's not there. Mommy said nothing. And she did nothing. She couldn't even save herself. Mommy and David had sent us girls to church, and I remember this thing called prayer. So since Mommy couldn't save me, I prayed that God would kill Grandpa Butch. I didn't go to the funeral, but I thanked God a lot that day. Now, Mommy must have got tired of David's foolishness because she packed up our stuff and drove Charisma and I to the front of Daddy's apartment building when I was 12. But this wasn't Daddy's weekend to have us, though. And she nervously told him, Robert, I'm taking the girls, and we're moving to Florida to live with my father. And Daddy was devastated, and he pled with her, Tiny, leave the girls here, I can take care of them. But his plea didn't work. And 3 days later, Mommy had safely driven us to southwestern Florida to meet her father, Grandpa Edward. Somewhat of a nice guy, but I could tell he only tolerated us mixed kids because we had some white blood in us. A few weeks into a rather nice life, with tropical plants everywhere, beaches, seafood, wildlife. You want to guess who Mommy picked up from the Greyhound bus stop? David. What the hell? But I understood that day that Mommy was as addicted to David as he was to dope. Grandpa Edward didn't like black men, and so we found a new home in a nearby town called Port Charlotte. And there, David could act a real fool with Grandpa Edward and Uncle Randy far enough away. And he did. And we lived in the country. We didn't know our neighbors. David burned the house phone in 1991, and he pawned the TVs. So life at home meant that our only form of entertainment was David's drama. And at 15 years old, I'm tired of asking, Mommy, you have daughters watching you. Why do you stay with this man? Her answer never satisfied me. I don't know what her last straw was, but Mommy put David out when I was 15. We barricaded every doorway to the house. We grabbed every cast iron skillet, hammer, weapon we could find to protect Mommy once David got home. And we screamed, oh my God, he's coming through the window. David smashed in through a front window. And not even a gun could control that beast. He left unwillingly. Sleep didn't come for us girls, and so I stayed home from school the next day. Now, I expected Mommy and Charisma to come home around 5 o'clock, but David showed up first. I heard his Lincoln pull into the garage. He busted in through the kitchen door. I run to Mommy's bedroom to grab this silver and turquoise cross, preparing to meet Jesus because I knew David would kill me. Within moments of me grabbing this cross for dear life, David grabs me, pulls me down the hallway, through the kitchen, to the garage, and into that Lincoln. And when he slammed that car door, I saw a big old gun handle in his waistband, and I cried. But words didn't come out. I couldn't call for help. Daddy can't save me all the way in California, and 911 isn't a reality in this small town. The car ride was shorter than I expected and worse than I imagined. David parked in a tall, grassy area at the banks of the Peace River. We had fished there for crab and shrimp together, and I just knew that I would be the next dead thing floating in there. I don't remember a single thing that David said to me in that moment, but I'm pretty sure he called me everything other than Tisha. Now, my heart is racing, my hands are shaking, and I don't want to die. There's no small talk. David pushes me to the ground. My hands catch my fall. I'm on bended knees, and my head is on the ground, and I catch a glimpse of his right hand reaching for that big old gun handle. I rise up and scream out, Lord, if you save my life, I promise to serve you. And I heard sirens right away. And as the sheriff's car drove closer, David took off in that Lincoln. And the sheriff drove straight to me. And my favorite deputy, Deputy Hobbs, who'd been called to the house so many times before, scooped me up, brushed the dirt off of me, and called for his backup to go chase down David. Deputy Hobbs called my uncle, he called my mama, and he kept me safe until mommy got home. And I had a hero. We never heard from David again. I lived with my mother in Florida a little while longer, and later that year moved to New York to live with my father's first wife. I saw Daddy again when I was 17. He had remarried and seemed to have a very happy life and happy new wife. I was raised in a village of people caring for me in New York City and eventually moved on to Baltimore to study criminal justice. At 20 years old, I became a law enforcement officer. Deputy Hobbs was my lifesaver, and I wanted to be someone's hero. I wanted to save women and children from the hell of domestic violence. And for 10 years, I proudly served and protected in my blue uniform, my gold badge, and a big old gun that made me feel so safe. But when I became pregnant, I knew that I wanted to make a safe and happy home for my baby girl. I changed careers to ensure that I could be home more often, to make happier childhood memories for Elena. I stayed in law enforcement. I just switched to civil rights advocacy in the last part of my career, and I retired in 2018. Today, I own a business consulting company and an online training academy for entrepreneurs. I train women to influence their own personal economy by starting businesses and creating the lives of their dreams. I taught Elena self-defense and that her no means no. She and my 4 bonus children were raised by my husband, Ken, also a law enforcement officer. And as for mommy, she met up with other jerks. The abuse continued. It was just different. As an adult, I let go of trying to be her protector, and I let God care for her since she didn't seem to take my advice about men. Mommy retired from nursing in 2009. Ken and I moved her to Michigan to be closer to us. I sought therapy to let go of the grudges that I held against her. I forgave mommy. And today, I'm still kind of protecting her though, because mommy lives safe and well and on her own terms with Ken and I, our 5 children, and this really awesome doggie. So, on the other side of betrayal, I found trust, and I trust that my best is yet to come.
Tisha Hammond, ladies and gentlemen.